All right, this is our second slide, so you should have done the other one first. So if you didn't, go back and click on the video on the other slide and do that one first, please. So we're going to look at some questions here on absolute value and opposites, okay? So the first question, it says, what number is its own opposite? So remember, opposites mean that they have the same absolute value, so they're the same distance from 0. So the only number that is the same distance from 0 as its opposite is the number 0. So that's kind of a tricky question, okay? Because 0, if we look at a number line, 0 is right here in the middle. We have 1 and -1. 0 is right there in the middle, and 0 is special because it's not positive, it's not negative, so it is its own opposite. Okay? The next thing we're going to look at is what number is the greatest negative integer. So if you remember, all of our negative integers are to the left of 0, and we want the one that is the greatest. So on our number line, we have least on the left, and we have greatest on the right. So we want the negative integer that is furthest to the right, so that number would be -1. Okay, our next question is, what is the least positive integer? So the least positive integer. So the positive integers, that means we're looking at the ones on the right over here. And the least positive would be the one that is closest to 0. So it is 1. And if you remember our vocabulary, 1 and -1 would be called opposites because they're opposite of each other. Okay, now we're going to look at this chart here. Okay, it says complete the chart below. It gives us a number, it gives us a space for the opposite of that number, and it gives us a space for the absolute value. Okay, so the number that it gives us first is 12. The opposite of 12 is the same distance from 0, just on the other side of the number line, it's -12. -12 and 12 are both 12 spaces from 0, so they have an absolute value of 12. Okay, the next number it gives us -28. The opposite of -28 is +28. And the absolute value of both of those numbers is 28 because they're 28 spaces from 0. For C, it tells us it's -18 and 2/10. So the opposite of -18 and 2/10 would be +18 and 2/10. And -18 and 2/10 and +18 and 2/10 are both 18 and 2/10 spaces away from 0. Okay, this last section here, it says find the absolute value of each term. So if you remember from the last slide, I said that those two up and down lines, those two parallel lines, those are the symbols for absolute value. So the first one is asking us, what is the absolute value of 7? So the absolute value of 7 is how many spaces from 0 7 is, and 7 is 7 spaces from 0. Okay, if we look at a number line. B is asking us the absolute value of -7. So -7, we count how many spaces from 0 on the number line it is. It is also 7 spaces from 0. 7 and -7 are opposites because they have the same absolute value. The next one it asks us is the absolute value of 14. So the absolute value of 14 is, well, 14. It's 14 spaces from 0. Okay. In D, it says the absolute value of 5 plus the absolute value of -6. So what I'm going to do is right above them, I'm going to write the absolute value of each one, and then I'm going to add them together. So the absolute value of 5 is 5 spaces from 0. And then the absolute value of -6 is 6 spaces from 0. So then I'm just going to add those two together. So 5 plus 6 is 11. Okay. If we go to E, we're going to do that same thing. So we're going to use that same thought. So the first one says the absolute value of -7. So -7 is 7 spaces from 0. And it's minus the absolute value of 3. And 3 is 3 spaces from 0. So we have 7 minus 3, which is 4. Now, I'm going to let you guys do F, G, and H on your own. On H, be careful though. You're going to do 6 minus 4 first, and then tell me the absolute value. Okay? In the last question here, it says, Lily saw jellyfish at 6 feet below sea level. She saw a bright blue fish at 10 feet below sea level. What is the distance between the blue fish and the jellyfish? So we're going to draw a C here. Our Mr. Jellyman. Our Jellyman is at 6 feet below sea level. And our blue man is at 10 feet below sea level. So what we want to do is we want to find how far is it between these two things. So if we think of a number line and we think of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So the distance between those two is 4 feet.